Alright, so I'm going to be talking about the mobile game that I'm making. This is the first game I've ever made, the first mobile game and mobile app. So I'm just going to go over everything that I've done so far, and pretty much like the plan going forward. So basically the app, you can see it on the right side here as it is now. Pretty much it's a text-based game where like you fly your spaceship on expeditions. And you find loot and you mine, and there's a lot of different scenarios that can happen as you're like traveling and doing different events. There's going to be quests, there's experience, items, crafting, etc. So yeah, I'm pretty much just going to go through the whole plan so far, and then every week I'll probably do more videos just talking about the things I've done like over the week and like my thoughts. It'll be a lot like Vampire Survivor in that you go on like individual runs, and you can get upgrades beforehand that'll help you on each run. So it's similar in that sense, and it gets a lot of inspiration from games like EVE Online as well. It's very similar except much more simple. So for progression systems, the plan right now is to have skills. There's going to be quests. You can get equipment, and then also crafting. And so all of that is going to work into one like overarching story that has just like progression over time. And the plan hopefully is that every expedition you go on in the game, you'll have at least something new to experience each time. Whether that's like scenarios that happen, or maybe you use some new equipment to do something new, or maybe you have a quest that gives you some different scenario than usual. So that's the plan for progression systems. I'm hoping the game can at least be a few hours total, potentially. An hour would be great, but more is better. Yeah, so the plan for the overall progression, you're going to unlock things over time, kind of like Vampire Survivors. Like inventory is going to be the first thing you get. A little bit later, maybe after a few expeditions, you'll get questing, and then over time you'll unlock these different extra things you can do, like gas mining, salvaging, exploring. Exploring is kind of its own system, like go to different places on a planet, like an abandoned like space station or something like that. And so the overall story of the game, it gets a lot of inspiration from like Warhammer 40k, where it's not very happy. It's pretty sad overall, but and then you're just alone trying to like make a living. The game's going to have like solar systems that you go to, and that's the expeditions are going to take place in a given solar system. And then you'll find like planets and other special locations in the solar systems. And you might need like special equipment to find these locations. And then being able to do certain things on the planets also requires like special equipment or maybe skills that you have. The plan was to have special locations on these planets that you can then visit, like abandoned space stations, or just like abandoned facilities, things like that, or like crashed ships. Now anytime you travel, you're going to have events, and sometimes they're good, usually they're bad. A lot of the inspiration for these comes from Baldur's Gate 3, and like just D&D in general, where you roll a dice and then you'll have modifiers to determine kind of what your outcome is. And additionally, things like you're going to have events anytime you mine or do explorations or traveling, or anytime you are doing like quests. So there's going to be a lot of events, and they're often going to have like multiple options too. And I want you, hopefully the game has like balanced options, so there's risk reward for everything you do. Hopefully there's not just one option that's just blatantly better. That's the goal, at least. The game was originally going to have all of these things that I've talked about just outright, but it turns out it's really difficult to make a game and it takes a really long time. So for now I'm just doing the first version of the game, and it's only going to include like maybe 10% of everything I've talked about, and then over time I'm going to be adding content. So for now, really all you can do is go on expeditions and mine, and then you'll have your persistent inventory when you're done. There's just going to be one solar system, There's only about 5 travel events that can happen. And then otherwise, pretty much everything's going to be fleshed out. So it's basically a complete game. It's just that there's very little content. And then after version 1 is done, then I'll work on incremental updates. Basically everything I've talked about so far being added. So we'll look at quests and scenarios next. Right now there's only 5 scenarios. Let's take a look at them. So when you're traveling, you have 5 potential things that can happen. You might have engine failure. You might encounter some asteroids. You might accidentally navigate off course. You might encounter a useful piece of debris that you can explore. Or you might find just a lone mineable asteroid. So let me just show the game as is, and you can see all these things in action. So on the right side here, this is as much of the game as I've built so far. So right now this is like the hub world, so you can do expeditions, and then you also have a persistent inventory. So right now this is like an item that you've mined, and you can sell it if you want. Okay, never mind, it's broken. Okay, so yeah, you can go on expeditions. So this is the solar system. And when you launch the expedition, you choose the first place you want to go. So these are the places that you found. And you can choose one of them to go to. Now when you start an expedition as well, you're going to have your different resources. So these are the 4 main ones. Your fuel, hull, engine, and your composure, which is basically like your sanity. And if any of these get to 0, then you lose. And there's consequences for losing. You're going to lose some money. But basically, before any of these run out, you'll want to conclude the expedition in order to get home safely. So when you travel to a planet, you're going to encounter a travel situation, asteroid field. So you have 2 options for how to handle it. You can do a methodical approach, or you can rely on your piloting ability. And when you see the little dice, this means that we're going to do a roll check to see if you pass it. So we'll do this one first. So in this case, you needed a 50 to pass successfully. We got a 67. In the future, there's going to be like modifiers based on your skill and equipment that either increase or decrease this base number. And it's a little bugged right now. There we go. There's a button at the bottom that's just bugged right now. Okay, so yeah, so you've gotten to the planet, and you can also see that you lost some fuel. Every time you travel, you lose some fuel. And if we had failed that roll check, you might lose some other stats as well. So now that we're here, you can mine it. So in this case, this is the only mineral on the planet, and it has a relatively easy roll to get it. In this case, though, we failed with a 16. So we lost 1 fuel and we didn't find anything. So let's try it again. So yeah, so we got a 47. So we found some. You can critically succeed. You can succeed, you can fail, and you can critically fail. Critical successes will give extra bonuses, and then a critical failure will have, you'll lose some stats, like some extra stats. You can also scan. In this case, there's only 1 mineral. So let's travel somewhere else, like the asteroid cluster. So we got the same one again. So let's do the methodical approach this time. So this just has a flat outcome. And in this case, you lost 2 fuel because you were more methodical. So we can also mine here. So in this case, our only option right now is to mine a random location because we haven't scanned the asteroid field. And you have a very low chance of success. So we can scan it. So when we did that, we I found 1 mineral. Now when we remine it, you'll see this is our option, which is still relatively hard to get. So there we go. So we got some. We also lost some fuel, because every action you lose fuel. And then we have an inventory. So this is what we've mined so far. And you can also jettison some if you get too much. We have a cargo capacity as well. So we'll just conclude this expedition for now. And then this is what you get when you leave. So this is everything you found. You can go back to home. We have a persistent inventory that has everything that we got. And then you can just do it over again. So yeah, I'll keep making more videos in the future as I add features. But thank you for watching.